Welcome back to another video. In this video, we want to talk about how blood flow can help prevent common gym injuries. If you're interested, definitely stick around. Welcome back again, right? This is important because this is what separates most humans. Most humans, when they go to the gym, there's two types. One that are super cautious, that don't even want to do what we're going to be talking about. And there's going to be the other camp that's gonna be gung-ho. Like you might be like, yo, I'm ready to go. I got my energy drinks, I got my pre-workout, whatever it is, I'm ready to pump that iron. But those individuals, not knowing the foundations, guess what? They injure themselves. If you are playing a sports game, let's just use anything, basketball, baseball, soccer, whatever it is, you're playing and you get hurt, you get injured, what happens? You get kicked out of the game, you're out of the game, you no longer can play. You've spent so many months or so many weeks preparing for that game, but now guess what? You're out of the game. So what's the point of that? So how can we leverage understanding the core M3, the movement, metabolism, mindset, specifically your movement and blood flow specifically, on how to prevent common gym injuries, right? This is so primal. And I want my people, the ones that I see in the gym all the time, maybe I'll see you in the gym in the future. How do I help you understand that you need to prevent those injuries? I keep telling every guy or every girl that I talk to in the gym, like, hey, I'll tell you what you need to do, but just please, please, please do it with care, because I do not want you to get kicked out of the game. As much as I lift heavy weight, I even tell myself that. Like, I have to fundamentally remind myself, first thing before I do anything, hey, Shaquille, you're in the game, be cautious. Every single thing, form is super important. Don't worry about the weight will come. Focus on the form, because you build the proper form, the proper foundation of the house will stay much longer. So with that being said, right, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the common injuries that you'll experience when you're in the gym. The big one is lifting too heavy. When you lift too heavy, guess what? You're actually causing the muscles and the fibers and the fascia to overwork and not know what it should be doing. Remember, the human brain is amazing. The human body is amazing. It will do whatever you want it to do, whether it's good or bad. This just ties into habits, right? The habits that you build, every single action that you take throughout the day is based on the habits that you've been doing for many, many days, weeks, months, years, etc., etc. So the common gym injuries that I want to talk about is, depending on who you are. If you are a person that likes to do treadmill right when you get in, or do the elliptical, know that you want to first do a little bit of stretching, just so that you sort of activate those certain areas, right? Maybe you want to bend down a little bit because you have hamstrings. You want to go ahead and stretch this muscle out right here. You want to just, let the body know, like, hey, I'm about to start activating many different parts of myself. Please go ahead and keep me safe. And that way it will know that, okay, I will activate it. Clearly you want to do some squats. You want to go ahead and make sure your hips, knees, ankles, toes are all activated, right? You want to make sure. Those are the key things. I think if you were to watch that video that I have, maybe I'll link it up somewhere here, where you'll be able to see what does that mean in terms of those 10 major junctions of the body. So this video is really going to primarily focus a little bit deeper about that, because if you understand this concept, you're gonna avoid a lot of pitfalls, a lot of pitfalls. So let's do a recap, because for many of you, you're not gonna have time to watch that other video. So we wanna just give you that burst. And if you're obviously more curious, you can definitely go ahead and check that video out. So those 10 major junctions of the body, right? We sort of touched on it, but I wanna start all over again. So our fingers, right? That was funny doing that and seeing myself do that. But you have 10 fingers, and obviously thumbs and stuff like that, but there's joints. And so when you make a fist, so do it with me, make a fist. Imagine you're about to get ready to punch the wall, punch something. And when you make that fist, there's so many bones in your hands that has to get activated. And so we wanna go ahead and make those joints lubricated. Just like how we have gears in our cars that need lubrication to be able to function properly, our joints as well. And what you realize, depending on where you are in your life cycle, right? If you're early in your 20s, if you're late in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you'll have different sensations. So for me, when I do this motion, I don't feel anything. But for individuals that might be older, like think of my grandparents, think of individuals that are more geriatric, they're gonna have a hard time. It might feel stiff. You might be having arthritis, rheumatoid. Many different things can occur as you get older. So the synovial fluid within your joints might be not as effective as you're younger. So our hands have a lot of joints, right? The next thing is our wrist. You know, we take it for granted how much we actually use our arms and hands and everything as we do many of the activities we do throughout the day. We want to make sure our wrists are good, because definitely in the gym, you're lifting. If you're doing any upper body exercise or even lower body, you have to pick things up with your fingers, and then your wrist, depending on what you're doing, is going to be moving as well. So we want to go ahead and activate the wrist as well. We talk about it, but essentially you want to do wrist circles, right? You want to go in both directions so that you feel, you know, that it's lubricated enough that to do whatever the next activity is. After that is going to be our elbows, of course, right? You know, the concept of when we do our bicep curls or anything we lift up, you know, if we do this motion, anything requires our elbows, you want to go ahead and make sure you do that properly. And then of course, next will be our shoulders, right? We want to make sure we have nice mobility. The big thing that I see in the hospitals when I was in the clinical setting is a lot of people, especially as they get older, they have something called frozen shoulder. Right? This is an annoying one, because what happens is, you know, let's just say hypothetically you're sitting or hunched all day, you know, different muscles get activated, tighten, some loosen, and it's very difficult for you to just put your hand up to the sky, right? Seems very trivial, me telling you, but you'll be surprised how difficult it is. Maybe you can try it right now, see how you feel. If you can go like this, both hands to the sky, you know, say hello, and if you're good, great. If not, then we know what we need to work on. So that's our shoulders. And then of course our spine, this big spine. I'm doing it that way, but it's really just like, you know, from the back all the way down to your sacrum. That's your spine. And the mobility of this thing is amazing. Like whole industries formed because of the spine itself, right? Neurosurgery, we talk about chiropractic, the whole discipline is all about the spine, the mobility of the spine. You know, the fact that if you can do this motion right here, amazing. And I am, not gonna lie, I needed that. I just felt like a bunch of cracks, right? Because what happens is, again, I haven't stretched, I haven't worked out. If you watch my other videos, I'm in Lisboa, Portugal right now. Beautiful sunny weather, but what happens is I'm not going to the gym every single day at the moment, which is all good. But I will go back when I go back to Los Angeles. But at the moment, the spine is huge, because the spine does range of motion in 3 different planes, X, Y, Z. So it does the twisting motion, it does the forward bending and the reversed extension at the same time. So what do we talk? And then side bending, right? So the ability to go all the way like that. We want to make sure we're able to do that properly so that it's easy for us to do. Spine's super important, but the next thing I want to talk about is obviously our head and neck, right? So our head and neck is attached to the torso via right here, and the motion of going in circles, you're going to realize how tight your head and neck is depending on what your lifestyle looks like. If you're active, shouldn't be a problem, but for someone like me, you know, as I'm building the business, as I'm building these videos and working on a computer, I don't know what to say, but you know, so I'm on a machine all day and I'm staring at screens sometimes like this, you'll realize, like, if I'm standing like this, I'm fine, but when I'm on screens, I'm actually like this, right? And it causes tension. And then when I'm standing like this, you'll see that over time, the occipital bones and stuff like that have actually shifted, and I'm actually working on it actively, but that's another story for another day. But we want to make sure our head and neck is good, right? And our head and neck does a similar motion as our spine. It goes side to side, it goes forward, it goes back, and of course it does the twist, right? It twists back and forth. So same thing that we did with the spine, we want to do the same thing with our head and neck so that we actually mobilize all those cervical bones, the frontal bones and all that stuff in our brain and whatnot, so that there is mobility. Because if there isn't, our brain, but like the skull will actually start solidifying in those directions that we decide to keep it in. Okay, so we talked about the upper body in a way, so now let's talk about the lower body. So the big joints here is going to be the hip. The hip is obviously the one that, you know, when we're twisting, we want to lock in place, but it also allows us to bend. It allows us to move our feet and leg in different directions, like forward, back, etc., right? super important. We want to mobilize these two joints. The big thing here that I can say from my experience is as you get older, if you're not activating your hips properly, there's like a socket, right? There's like a ball and socket of your hip. And a lot of people, as they get older, since they're not moving a lot, it becomes very fragile, meaning if you lose balance, you fall, you can break your hip. A lot of hip surgery happens. Orthopedics obviously love that, but clearly if you can take care of yourself, you don't need to get like a metal ball and socket. I mean, you'll be bionic, which is cool, but again, you have a weird walk if you realize. I've seen many people that got hip surgery and they looked amazing beforehand, they had normal walks, but now they look like a little deformed in the way they walk. So I would highly recommend not doing it, but if you have to do it, I mean, you have to do it, right? There's nothing you can do about it. And then your knees. My goodness, I am now working on my knees. I realize how much I neglected my knees, even though when you see me, it might not seem like it, but my knees are so messed up. Like they're actually divergent. They're not in the proper orientation they need to be because guess what? Since I was sitting a lot and I crossed my legs a lot, the muscles and everything, the fascia grew in a weird, abnormal way that my knees no longer are in a straight position. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can still do a goddamn squat when I need to do a squat, but it's not as effective as I could be if I had proper orientation of the knee. But definitely work out the knee, right? You want to make sure you're able to like hold on to something and then extend it, flex it, etc., etc. So we talk about the hip, we talk about the knee, and of course the ankle. I injured myself playing basketball multiple times throughout my youth, and I didn't obviously know about it. I knew I got injured and just like sort of waited it out. When the pain went away, I forgot about it. But as I got older, I realized, things solidify, things calcify if you don't take care of it, because again, the body's all about efficiency. If you don't have a need for it, the body will just forget about it, even though you actually do have a need. That's just how it works. So clearly you want to do calf raises. You want to also just make sure you're able to do some nice circles with your ankle. You want to go reverse. You want a circular motion, front, back, extend, side to side, etc., etc. And then toes. Toes, best way is just go on your toes and then go up and down. Calf raises are amazing for it, but I would highly recommend also getting some bands so you can sort of stretch out those fingers or the toes that you have and you'll get blood flow there. So what did we just do right now, right? We just spent a shit ton of time talking about the different areas, well, the 10 major areas. This is all to help prepare your mind mentally. When you're hearing me, what that's gonna do is it's gonna inject some thoughts into your brain. And those thoughts are gonna lead to some actions. Eventually it's gonna say, hey, I'm gonna use myself obviously. Hey, Shaquille, you just heard this guy, Shaquille, talk about the different joints. Let's mobilize a little bit. So when you're going to the gym, depending on what exercises you do, right? So depending on the program, a lot of times the most simplest is like upper body and then lower body. If you're doing upper body, if you're doing, maybe bench press or you're doing some shoulder presses, whatever it is, that area should be focused before you do it. So like maybe stretch it out a little bit, maybe, do a little bit lightweight, very low weight, just so that you can sort of mobilize it. And then you do whatever the normal weight that you would normally do. That will help you, my friend, tremendously to not get injured when you're in the gym. What did I say in the beginning of the video? If you get injured, you're out of the game. If you're out of the game, game over. No one wants that. I know I don't want it. I know you don't want it. So let's make that happen. With that being said, guys, hopefully you found value in this video. I said a lot, but I would highly, highly recommend rewatching it if you missed some things or just need to recap on some things I've talked about. Very beneficial for you. I'm probably gonna watch this multiple times as well because I also need refreshers here and there. I get distracted, life happens. This is not like my primary focus, just like probably you're not. But if you do put your focus, guess what though, right? The whole thing with Alpha is to automate your health. If you can just embody this, make it our lifestyle or personality, all good. With that being said, I appreciate each and every one of you. If you like this video, give me a like. What I love more is you subscribing to the channel. That gives me signal that tells me another human being will benefit from this, and I will continue making more for you because I know if you benefit, I benefit as well. We solidify our information and we can elevate ourselves together. Other than that, I hope you have an amazing day. Hopefully you enjoy the Lisboa weather. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.